The beautiful shrub with the fall color directly in front of me is an American hazelnut. I planted several of these about 10 years ago from tiny seedlings. They've done fairly well. They definitely get beautiful fall color, and they're a tough and hardy tree. They do take some abuse from the deer, but not so much that the trees can't survive, although I guess these are more like shrubs. Since these are 10 years old and they're about 5 feet high and about 5 feet wide. One of them consistently fruits each year, which is this one. Take a look at some of the nut clusters here. This is about the point where they need to be picked. The nuts are very small. They are really tasty, but they're really tiny, and that's the downside. Once in a while you find one that's a little larger, but on the whole, they're very small, unfortunately. They are productive. I do have some European type hazelnuts and some hybrids, and they never make any nuts. This is a European type hazelnut. It's supposed to be one of the more disease resistant ones. You can see the deer like this one a lot more than the American type, and they eat it down really aggressively. They do the same thing to the hybrid type ones, and the buck deer tend to rub their antlers on the branches to rub the velvet off. And you can see some of that right here where the bucks did some rubbing and messed up the tree. This one, I'm not sure if it doesn't have the right pollinator or what, but it definitely never makes any hazelnuts, which is a shame. I wanted to show these catkins here and make a note of that on this American hazel. They've already pushed out. This is late October. I wanted to demonstrate the growth habit of hazels, particularly the American hazels. Grow as a suckering shrub. They send up shoots like this one here from the roots every year. Only the older stems fruit and make seeds, but they're continually renewing themselves with those shoots. This habit makes them a really good wildlife cover, but it also, in medieval times, it was, especially the European type ones, were used as coppiced plants. That means they were cut to the ground, maybe not every year, but frequently cut to the ground, and then the resulting shoots that come out very vigorously and very straight, and those could be used for tool handles, poles, building, firewood. But I know hazel was often used in hedge laying as the upright posts and some of the binders, but definitely the posts that were upright. This is a different type of hybrid hazelnut. These are extremely vigorous and really hardy, and they definitely have the basal branching suckering growth habit that the American type have. These have only been in the ground for 3 years, and they're already bigger than my almost 10-year-old American hazelnuts. They haven't borne any fruit yet, although this one does have some catkins on it here. I have another one nearby. The main downside, I would say, to this type is it's extremely attractive to Japanese beetles. This damage is all from Japanese beetles, and they didn't seem to go after the basically pure European type or the pure American type, but this type they really tear into. But if these make good nuts, then I mean this is going to be a good one regardless, but we have yet to get nuts off of these yet. But it took my other ones 6 or 7 years to begin to make any nuts. As you can also see, these don't have particularly attractive fall color. I expect they'll develop a little bit more than what's here, but it's not going to be anything special. The American ones get consistently beautiful fall color every year. But that is hazelnut experiments. So this is the total of the hazelnut harvest for 2017. I would estimate that there's something like a gallon or a gallon and a half of husked nuts. I would think that when I have these husked out, it may be as much as a quart, maybe a little less than that. However, I'm going to imagine that a quart of hazelnuts has a lot of calories, a lot of fat, a lot of proteins, a lot of vitamin. The reason I began thinking about growing hazelnuts actually is because of reading a book called One Circle. That book has a purpose of determining, using a lot of research, math, and good data, what are the most productive crops that you can grow to produce a complete human diet using all plant-based foods in as smallest square footage or footprint acreage as possible. And one of the things they recommended were hazelnuts. Hazelnuts don't take much work to harvest, they don't take much work to husk, they don't take a lot of work in general. They do take a while to bear. These took 6 or 7 years to start bearing fruit, but the production should increase every year. We also have walnut trees and chestnut trees that I planted here close to 10 years ago, and they are not close to bearing fruit from what I can tell. So nut trees take a long time to bear. Your hazelnuts are the fastest nut trees, and they're some of the easiest ones to process, and they're quite productive. The only negative to these American hazelnuts is the small size, and this is a pure American hazelnut, not selected for nut production per se, more for wildlife food, wildlife habitat, or just an attractive native shrub. So the nuts here are, compared to the pocket knife there, that's your pretty standard like lock blade pocket knife. Not very large, as you can see. I mean, they vary a lot. The biggest ones are close to a commercial hazelnut, and the smallest ones are almost not worth bothering with. But ones like these two on the left here, they're decent. They have a good flavor. There's no issue with the flavor. The only issue is that it's a smaller size nut. So that's the hazelnuts for 2017. Hopefully in another year my hybrid hazelnuts will start to bear, and then we can get bigger nuts and a little heavier production. That would be really nice.